Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointy Not Sharp. Today we're taking a look at a repurposed bayonet. So this was initially a French model of 1886 Lebel bayonet that was repurposed during the Second World War by the Third Reich into this configuration here, which they call the Seitengewehr 102, and then in brackets F for France. Now these were repurposed from They repurposed a whole bunch of different French bayonets, and I'll go through all of them. There were generally four. But this type here, the 102F, these were repurposed from MLE 1886s and 1886/93s, which are very, very similar. Now, I've already discussed the MLE 1886 bayonet in a previous video. If you want to learn about the history of it and where it was made and all those kinds of cool little details, check out that video. Leading into the Second World War, the French were still using their Lebel and Berthier rifles, which took the MLE 1886 and 1886/93 and 1886/15. So they had a whole plethora of different bayonets, not to mention their new Mus 36 spike bayonets, and they were using the Berthier sword bayonets. They were a complete mess. They had so many different kinds. But obviously, Second World War has broken out. Germany has just blitzkrieged through France. And in June 1940, the armistice was signed. And when that's happened, Germany has found themselves in the possession of a whole lot of French equipment, particularly small arms. Now, I don't know exactly what it is. I haven't found any documentation supporting this, but I've noticed that pretty much every long bayonet that they seized from another country, they have shortened. And that is exactly the same as what they've done here. Generally, when we're talking French bayonets captured by the Germans in World War II, there were the four different models. So first of all, we had the MLE 1874 for the grass rifle. That was renamed the SG-101F, and that was significantly shortened. Then we have the second kind here. These were made from the MLE 1886 and 1886/93s. These usually retained the hook quillin, that's how you spot them. And they were called the SG-102F. However, sometimes the hook quillins were removed. The third kind was the MLE 1886/15, which is the modernized version of this bayonet during the First World War. Anyway, they're the SG-103Fs. And then finally, the Berthier carbine sword bayonet or saber bayonet, the MLE 1892, was designated the Seitengewehr or SG-104F. Now, we'll stick to this bayonet here for the purpose of this video. It will fit onto three different rifles that were in service in France and captured by Germany, and the rifles themselves were also redesignated. So first off, we have the MLE 86/93, the long Lebel rifle. That was redesignated as the Gewehr 301F. Then we have the shortened version of that same rifle, which is the MLE 86/R35. That was redesignated the Gewehr 303F. That was a significantly shorter rifle. The original Lebel had a capacity of 8 cartridges in the tube magazine. I believe the R35 is down to 3 or something, very, very small. And finally, the MLE 0715, which was a Berthier rifle, was redesignated the Gewehr 302F. And it should be noted that the Lebel versions were initially designed to take this style of bayonet, being the 1886 or 1886/93, while the Berthier rifles in the First World War, like the 0715s, were designed to take the later version of this with the brass handles and hook quillin removed, being the 86/15. We're going to discuss the actual modification itself. So if you're unfamiliar with these bayonets, the blade is usually much longer, like probably another third longer than this. Absolutely massive blades. And they were shortened by the Germans down to 335 millimeters. This one here is actually 345, so maybe I'm measuring it differently. Maybe the Germans measured it from the first flute, the start of the fluting. I don't know. but mine is just slightly off, or maybe there was a bit of variation in them. I don't know. But that was the main modification, and as you can see, when they shortened them, the tips were done quite well. So that's very well machined, if I can get that to focus. Very uniform across all the sides. The second modification was the scabbards. So the scabbards were likewise shortened to accommodate a shortened bayonet. And what really makes these unique compared to the French ones is the French had a big ball finale that flared out wider than the walls of the scabbard. Whether the German ones just kind of have, I don't know what you call it, like a rounded end. It's generally about the same width as the sides of the scabbard. So that's usually the easiest way to tell, because with our Lebel bayonets, or Lebel style of bayonets, they were shortened for a number of reasons, and these are quite often confused with the R35 bayonet. So there was a modification of these done by the French for the R35 carbine, where they shortened these down to 400mm. The blades have come down to about there, a little bit longer than what we have here. And from what I can tell, they always remove the hook quillen, but I could be wrong on that. I'm not 100% certain. But the way you spot those as well is with the scabbards, they have a very, very large ball finale down the end. It's 13mm, and it sticks out considerably, whether this is almost flush with the walls. And you will see a couple of different ends to the Seitengewehr scabbards. Like this one here is pretty typical, and then you'll see others that are just completely rounded over. And if you look really, really closely, it's very difficult to show you on camera, but there is a very, very small rivet. It's been painted over, so it's difficult to see, that goes through and holds that end piece on. And that's another indication that this one is German. Sadly, this one has been refurbished by someone. I think it's the guy I bought it from on eBay. Down here in Australia, sadly, there is this, I don't know what to call him, he just annoys the hell out of me, but essentially he takes old bayonets and he heavily blues them, and then he paints the scabbards black, and he thinks it increases the value. Maybe some people feel they owe more money for it, but personally I'm of the belief he's destroying them. But I got this for a pretty good price, so I can't complain too much. And the last thing to really talk about with these is the frogs. So this is an original French frog. It's not uncommon to see photos of German soldiers during the Second World War using this bayonet with this frog. I have seen a couple, so it can be correct. But more often than not, they use their own Mauser style of frog. So if you're familiar with the Mauser frog studs, they are vastly different to the frog bar here that the French use. And what they actually did was they modified the German frogs essentially by cutting or widening the slit to make it fit. And it wasn't a great fit. They were a bit loose, but they're generally used by reserve soldiers, not frontline soldiers, so it didn't matter a terrible lot. From what I can tell, they didn't really see much use until the very end of the war. But yeah, so you will see these in all different configurations. As I said, you'll see all the different Lebel type bayonets with the iron and the brass handles, but they're the Seitengewehr 103Fs. I'm really keen to get my hands on a few more of these. I want to get the 101 being the grass version, or the Gras version. I nearly got one a month ago, just slipped through my fingers on eBay, devastated about that. And I'd love to get one of the 103s with a brass handle as well. And also want to get an R35 for comparison. So it's a never ending. And in terms of the Seitengewehr 104s being the Berthier version, the saber bayonet, I don't know if they've modified them at all. So I found two bits of reference material. The first one is Ian McCollum's book Chassepot de Famas, That has a solid page on these modifications, and that was quite useful. And the other one is a book in German. I can't remember the title. I've got a soft copy and I don't have the title page, but essentially it just goes through country by country, and each page dedicates to one captured weapon and its new designation, and the whole book's in German. And it doesn't show the modifications, it just shows the new SG numbers associated with them. So I've got no way of knowing what modifications were done to the Berthiers, if any, because it is a shorter bayonet to begin with. Anyway, guys, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. If you have anything further to add, comment below. I've probably made a few errors in here somewhere, but I've tried to do my best. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching.